Hey Moon Jade family. Thank you so much for your love and support. Please like, subscribe, and share. It's a simple way to support me and keep our stories coming. Thank you for being here. Now, grab a seat and let's continue the story. The scent of jasmine and rose petals filled the air, but to Aisha Danjuma, it smelled like a cruel joke. Her wedding day. The day she had dreamed of since she was a little girl, when she first met Prince Adewale, the dashing heir to a wealthy Nigerian royal family. She had been told her life would finally begin today, that her sacrifices, her kindness, her patience would be rewarded. But as she stared into the ornate gold-framed mirror, her reflection trembled. The smile she had practiced for weeks wouldn't come. Deep down, something felt wrong. Aisha, you look like a queen, Tara purred behind her. Aisha's stepsister stood in the doorway, wearing a smug smile that didn't match her sweet tone. Tara's emerald green dress clung to her curves like sin itself, and her eyes glittered with something Aisha couldn't name. Thank you, Aisha murmured, adjusting the delicate beaded veil over her braided hair. I'm just nervous. You should be, Tara said, stepping closer. After today, everything changes. Before Aisha could reply, their mother barged in, clapping her hands. Come, come. The prince is ready. Everyone's waiting. Her heart pounded. This is it, she told herself, inhaling deeply as she followed them toward the ceremonial hall. Today, I'll finally have my happy ending. But the moment she reached the grand doors, her world shattered. The hall was silent, eerily so. Instead of cheers and celebration, there were whispers, shocked gasps, and the cold, condemning stares of family and guests. At the altar stood Prince Adewale, with Tara's hand firmly clasped in his. Aisha froze. Her veil slipped from her trembling hands. Tara? Her voice cracked. Adewale? What is this? Adewale wouldn't meet her gaze. Tara, on the other hand, smiled like a cat who had devoured its prey. Don't be so dramatic, Aisha, Tara cooed. Adewale and we realized we were meant for each other. You were just in the way. The crowd erupted into murmurs. Aisha stumbled forward, her chest constricting. You can't be serious. After everything, after our engagement. She turned to Adewale, desperate. Tell me this is a mistake. But Adewale's jaw tightened. It's not. Tara makes me happy in a way you never could. I'm sorry, Aisha. Aisha's knees buckled. Sorry? He was sorry? After humiliating her before everyone she knew? Their mother's voice rang out sharply. Enough of this. Aisha, stop making a scene. Aisha's head snapped up. Me? I'm the victim here. You will not disgrace this family further, her mother hissed, grabbing her arm with a grip like iron. There is another arrangement in place for you. You will leave with Madame Zhang's people immediately. What? Aisha gasped, horror flooding her veins. Two tall, expressionless men stepped forward, their dark suits and cold eyes making her blood run cold. You can't just send me away, she cried, struggling. Where are they taking me? To China, her stepmother said simply, her lips curling into a cruel smile. The Zhang family has been most generous. You'll be married to their heir. It's an advantageous match for us all. Aisha's stomach twisted. Married? To a stranger? No. I won't. You will, her stepmother snapped. You've always been so ungrateful, Aisha. At least this way, you'll serve a purpose. Consider yourself useful. Tara smirked, leaning into Adewale's side. Don't worry, sister. I'll take good care of Adewale while you're gone. The last thing Aisha saw before a cloth was pressed over her mouth was Tara's triumphant grin. When she woke, she was on a private jet, bound for a foreign land. Her wrists weren't tied, but her future felt like a prison cell closing in around her. The Zhang family estate was even more intimidating than she'd imagined. It was a sprawling palace of jade and gold, surrounded by high walls and guarded gates. Madame Zhang, a regal woman with sharp, assessing eyes, greeted her with open arms. Welcome, dear Aisha, she said warmly, though her gaze was calculating. You are now part of our family. My son, Zhang Ming, has been in a coma for 3 years. Your presence will bring him peace until his passing. Aisha's heart broke. So that was it. She wasn't even a wife, just a stand-in bride for a man who would never know her. She bowed her head, tears stinging her eyes. I've been cast away like nothing. That night, as she lay by the side of an unconscious Mun in the lavish bedroom that wasn't hers, she whispered into the darkness, "I don't belong here." Aisha Danjuma's world tilted as Zhang Ming slowly sat upright, his storm-gray eyes sharp and unyielding. He was supposed to be comatose. A Mun who hadn't opened his eyes in 3 long years was now alive, awake, and staring at her as though she was the only thing keeping him tethered to the world. "You," she gasped, stumbling backward until her back hit the ornate mahogany bedpost. "You're awake." His gaze darkened, sweeping over her trembling form with a mixture of hunger and fury. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough and hoarse, yet filled with a command that made her knees weak. "Who touched you?" His tone was dangerous, possessive. "Who dared to lay hands on my wife?" Her lips parted in shock. "Wife?" Before she could find her voice, the door slammed open. Madame Zhang swept into the room like a storm, attendants trailing behind her. She froze, staring at her son, and then a raw, broken sob tore from her throat. "Minga," she cried, rushing to his side. "My son, my light. You've returned to me." For a brief moment, Zhang Ming's hard expression softened as he clasped her trembling hands. "Mother," he rasped, emotion thick in his voice. "Even in the darkness, I heard her voice, calling me back." Then his head turned slowly toward Aisha, his stormy gaze locking on her with a heat that made her heart pound painfully. Madame Zhang followed his gaze, and her tears turned to joy. "Aisha, do you see? Your arrival has awakened him. You are a blessing, a sign from heaven itself." "What?" Aisha whispered, shaking her head. "No, I didn't. This wasn't supposed to happen. I was brought here against my will." Madame Zhang cupped Aisha's face with a reverent touch. "Your late mother and I were bound by a promise," she said softly. "When we were young, we vowed that our children would be united. Even after tragedy struck, I swore to honor that vow. And now fate has delivered you here." Aisha's chest tightened painfully. "My mother knew Madame Zhang? She planned this?" Zhang Ming's lips curved into a faint, dangerous smile. "I have waited for you," he said, his voice low and deliberate, as if each word was a vow. "Even as I slept, I knew you would come. And now you are mine." Aisha stumbled back another step, her breath coming fast. "This wasn't my choice," she cried. "I was betrayed, sent here like a pawn in someone else's game. I don't even know you." His smile vanished, replaced by a shadow of lethal calm. "They tried to keep you from me?" His voice dropped to a deadly whisper. "Tell me who." Her lips trembled, but before she could speak, Madame Zhang cut in sharply. "Enough, both of you. Minga, you must regain your strength. And you, Aisha, must prepare yourself for your future as part of this family." Her words were final, brooking no argument. Later that night, Aisha paced the length of her ornate chambers, unable to calm the storm in her heart. She should be angry. She was angry. But beneath that anger simmered something far more dangerous, an unfamiliar longing for the Mun who had looked at her like she was both his salvation and his obsession. A sharp knock broke through her thoughts. "Minga wishes to see you," an attendant announced through the door. Aisha's pulse raced. Part of her wanted to refuse, but something deep inside her, a strange, magnetic pull, drew her forward. Zhang Ming's private study was a sanctuary of shadows and secrets, lit only by the golden glow of a single lantern. The air smelled of sandalwood and ink. He stood by the window, his tall figure silhouetted by the moonlight. When he turned to face her, the intensity in his storm-gray eyes made her breath catch. "You came," he said softly, though there was a dangerous edge beneath the words. Aisha hugged her arms around herself. "I didn't exactly have a choice." He took a slow, measured step toward her. "You always have a choice, Aisha. Even if you don't see it yet." Her throat tightened. "Why me? You don't even know me. My own family, my stepmother and stepsister, they betrayed me, sent me here like I was, disposable. Why act like this was fate?" His jaw clenched. "Because I do know you." Her breath hitched. "What are you talking about?" He moved closer, until the heat of his body surrounded her. His voice dropped, intimate and raw. "When we were children, your mother brought you here once. You were so small, you don't remember. But I do." His stormy eyes softened, filled with a deep, haunting emotion. "From that moment, I swore that you would be mine. Even as I slept, even trapped in darkness, I knew you would come back to me." That's impossible, she whispered, though her heart pounded at the conviction in his words. Zhang Ming's hand rose, his calloused fingers brushing her cheek with surprising gentleness. Impossible. His lips curved near her ear. Nothing is impossible when it comes to you. Aisha trembled. She should pull away. She wanted to. But instead, her body leaned toward him, craving his warmth. Zhang Ming, her voice broke, barely a whisper. You belong here, he murmured, his thumb grazing her trembling lips. You belong with me. Their breaths mingled, the space between them charged with unspoken desire. Aisha's heart screamed for her to run, but her soul whispered to stay. I don't know what to believe, she confessed, tears welling in her eyes. His gaze burned into hers. Then believe in me, he said, the words a vow. For a heartbeat, it felt like the world had stilled around them. His lips hovered just above hers, so close she could feel the heat of his breath. But he didn't kiss her. Instead, he pulled back with a smile that promised everything, and threatened even more. Rest now, he said softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Soon, you will see that nothing can come between us. As Aisha left the room, her heart was a whirlwind of fear, anger, and something far more dangerous, longing. Aisha had never thought she'd grow accustomed to the lavish corridors of the Zhang estate, but after 3 weeks, the golden silk tapestries and intricately carved wooden screens had become part of her everyday life. Still, every now and then, she caught herself stopping mid-step, staring at a piece of ornate porcelain or the soft glow of paper lanterns, and whispering, "This isn't my life." But it was. And it was getting harder to deny. Especially because of Zhang Ming. At first, he had been quiet, speaking to her mostly in measured tones, his dark, watchful eyes giving little away. But lately, things had shifted. His gaze lingered longer. His voice softened when he spoke her name. And sometimes, when she least expected it, she caught glimpses of the moon beneath the powerful heir, the one who had waited for her for years. Tonight was one of those moments. The autumn festival was in full swing, the city outside alive with fireworks and laughter. But inside the Zhang estate, only a quiet dinner had been planned. Zhang Ming had insisted on cooking personally, much to the shock of the household staff. Aisha sat at the long table, watching as he set down a steaming bowl of dumplings. You cooked this yourself? She asked, disbelief coloring her voice. Zhang Ming smirked, a rare, teasing curve of his lips. Do you doubt me, wife? The word wife sent a rush of heat to her cheeks. I just didn't expect someone like you to know how to boil water, let alone cook. His chuckle was low and warm. When I was becoming weak, there wasn't much I could do. Cooking became a kind of therapy. She stared at him for a moment, seeing not the powerful heir, but the vulnerable Mun who had lain helpless for months, trapped in his own body. Her chest tightened. You must have been so lonely, she said softly. His hand paused as he reached for the wine. For a heartbeat, something unguarded flashed in his eyes. I was. Until you came. The words hung in the air, heavy and intimate. Aisha's pulse quickened. She picked up her chopsticks to distract herself, but when she took her first bite, her eyes widened. This is incredible. Zhang Ming's smile deepened, pride flashing across his face. Good. I wanted tonight to be special. The warmth in his voice unraveled something inside her. She had spent so long feeling unwanted, betrayed, discarded like a pawn in her stepmother's games. But here, with him, she felt seen. Cherished. After dinner, they moved to the garden, lantern light casting soft shadows across the koi pond. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of cherry blossoms. As they walked side by side, Zhang Ming's hand brushed hers. The touch was accidental, or so she thought. But when she didn't pull away, his fingers slowly intertwined with hers. Aisha's breath caught. Ming. He stopped walking and turned to face her, his expression intense. Do you know how many years I've dreamed of this moment? Her lips parted, but no words came. I thought I'd lost you forever, he continued, voice rough. When I couldn't move, couldn't speak, the only thing that kept me alive was knowing you were out there somewhere. That one day, you would be mine. Her heart hammered in her chest. But you didn't even know me. I knew enough. His thumb stroked the back of her hand. I knew your heart. My mother told me everything about your kindness, your strength. And when I finally saw you, laying in my bed, his breath shuddered. It felt like fate. Tears stung Aisha's eyes. No one had ever spoken about her like this. Not even her late mother. I thought you'd reject me when you woke up, she whispered. I thought you'd be angry that you were forced to marry a stranger. His jaw tightened. Never. You are not a stranger to me, Aisha. You are the only person I've ever truly wanted. Before she could respond, he cupped her face in his hands and kissed her. The world fell away. His lips were warm, demanding, yet tender, as if he were afraid she might vanish if he held her too tightly. Aisha melted against him, her hands gripping his robe, her body trembling with emotions she didn't dare name. When they finally broke apart, breathless, Aisha whispered, Ming, what are we doing? His forehead rested against hers. We are becoming what we were always meant to be. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. But as they walked back inside, a shadow crossed her heart. Somewhere deep down, she knew her family wasn't done with her. Especially Tara. And when Tara came, she would try to tear all of this apart. The Zhang estate buzzed with unusual excitement. Madame Zhang had ordered the servants to prepare the grand hall for visitors, claiming it was a family matter. Aisha stood by the window of her chambers, staring at the lanterns glowing along the courtyard path. A deep unease settled in her stomach, like a storm brewing on the horizon. Ming, she said softly as Zhang Ming adjusted the cuff of his robe. You're sure this is just a family guest? He gave her a reassuring smile, though his eyes were sharp. My mother didn't say much, but there's nothing to worry about. Whatever happens, you are my wife. That will not change. His words eased her slightly, but the knot in her chest remained. Moments later, the doors to the hall opened, and Aisha's world tilted on its axis. Tara, she breathed, her voice breaking. Her stepsister stood there, draped in a shimmering crimson chipao that hugged her curves, her hair perfectly styled. Her eyes sparkled with triumph as they landed on Aisha. Aisha, darling, Tara purred, her voice dripping with mock sweetness. Imagine my surprise when I learned my poor sister had been misplaced. Aisha's knees almost gave out. How did you even? Oh, come now, Tara interrupted smoothly. Did you really think you could just disappear and live like a princess while I was left behind? This was supposed to be my life. Zhang Ming's expression hardened, a wall of ice settling over his features. Aisha is my wife. She belongs here. You, however, do not. Tara's smile faltered, but only for a second. She glided closer, her perfume sickly sweet in the air. Is that so? Because from where I stand, she's nothing but an imposter. I am the one everyone expected to marry into this family. She stole my place. I stole nothing. Aisha snapped, fury boiling in her veins. You shipped me here like luggage, Tara. You wanted to be free of me, remember? Madame Zhang, clearly confused, turned to Zhang Ming. Ming, what is this? But Zhang Ming's gaze never left Tara. Mother, this woman has no claim here. Send her away. Tara's eyes darkened, but she bowed gracefully. Of course, Madame Zhang. I only wanted to see my dear sister. She turned, her smile sharp as a blade. We'll talk later, Aisha. That night, Zhang Ming attended a late meeting, leaving Aisha alone in their chambers. She paced, nerves raw. Tara's arrival wasn't just trouble, it was a threat. In another part of the estate, Tara waited in Ming's private study, her plan perfectly laid. A crystal decanter of wine sat on the table, laced with a potent aphrodisiac she'd bribed a servant to procure. When Ming entered, she rose gracefully. Ming, she said, her voice soft and sultry. We need to talk. There is nothing to say, he replied coldly. On the contrary, she murmured, pouring 2 glasses of wine. I think we understand each other perfectly. She handed him a glass, brushing his fingers deliberately. Why settle for a shadow, when you could have the real thing? He didn't drink. Instead, he set the glass down with a sharp clink. The real thing? You mean you, who betrayed your own sister. Tara's face hardened. She doesn't deserve you, Ming. You deserve someone who understands this world. Someone like me. When he turned to leave, she moved fast, pressing her lips to his, her hands clutching at his shoulders. But Ming shoved her away so forcefully she stumbled. Never touch me again, he growled, his voice like thunder. My heart, my loyalty, my life belongs to Aisha. And if you ever try to hurt her, I will destroy you. Tara's eyes burned with humiliation and rage. You'll regret this, she spat, storming out. Zhang Ming found Aisha standing by the window of their chambers, moonlight washing over her like silver silk. "Ming?" she asked, startled by the intensity in his eyes. He crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling her into his arms. His breath was ragged, his voice raw. "She tried to poison me, Aisha. To use me. But all I could think about was you." Before she could respond, his lips crashed against hers, urgent and hungry. Aisha gasped, her hands tangling in his hair as his body pressed her against the wall. His kiss was fire and desperation, a vow and a plea all at once. "Ming," she whispered between kisses, her heart pounding. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." His mouth trailed down her neck, his hands trembling as they cupped her face. "You are my wife. My salvation. I need you, Aisha. Tonight, I need you to be mine completely." Something inside her shattered. All the walls she had built, all the doubts and fears, crumbled beneath the weight of his words. "Yes," she breathed. "I'm yours." Their clothes fell away like discarded lies, and when he finally entered her, it was with a reverence that made her cry out. Their bodies moved together, a perfect rhythm of passion and love, the world narrowing to just them. As they lay tangled in the sheets afterward, Zhang Ming brushed damp strands of hair from her face. "She will try again," he said quietly. "But no matter what Tara does, I will protect you. Always." Aisha rested her head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. "Let her try," she whispered. "This time, she won't win." The sun rose over the Zhang estate, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and gold. Aisha woke to find Zhang Ming still asleep beside her, his arm draped protectively across her waist. His steady breathing calmed her racing thoughts for a moment. It had been weeks after Tara's first attempt, but the images still haunted her. The venom in Tara's eyes, the way she had tried to trap Ming, and the fear of what she was going to do next. Aisha carefully slipped out of bed, determined not to let Tara ruin their fragile happiness. But as she dressed, a wave of nausea hit her so suddenly she had to grab the edge of the vanity table. "What on earth?" she muttered, clutching her stomach. By the time she reached the washroom, she was trembling. It wasn't just nausea. Her body felt different, her heart pounding with a strange, impossible realization. No, it can't be. Meanwhile, Tara was in the courtyard, her perfect smile hiding the storm inside her. "Good morning, Madame Zhang," she said sweetly as Ming's mother approached. "I was just admiring your beautiful garden. So peaceful here." Madame Zhang studied her carefully, suspicion clear in her gaze. "Peaceful, yes. Which is why I won't allow chaos to disrupt this home." Tara's smile tightened. "Of course not. But don't you think Ming deserves options? After all, Aisha is still so new to this world. Perhaps she isn't suited for the role of a Zhang wife." "Aisha is family now," Madame Zhang said firmly. "You are a guest. Remember that." The rebuke made Tara's hands curl into fists. She forced herself to bow gracefully before walking away, rage simmering in her chest. "They all underestimate me. But not for long." Aisha spent the morning in the study, trying to distract herself with reading. When Zhang Ming entered, she looked up, startled. "You didn't tell me you were feeling unwell," he said, concern etched across his features. "The servants mentioned you skipped breakfast." She swallowed, unsure how to tell him. I've been feeling strange lately. Tired. A little sick." Ming's brows furrowed. "Should I call the doctor?" "No," Aisha said quickly, then softened her tone. "I mean, let's wait a little. It might just be stress." But Ming wasn't convinced. He took her hands in his touch grounding her. "Aisha, whatever it is, we'll face it together. I don't want you to bear anything alone." Her throat tightened. She wanted to tell him the truth, but fear held her back. What if he wasn't ready to be a father? What if this made her an even bigger target for Tara? Before she could speak, a loud commotion erupted outside. Ming instantly moved to shield her, his protective instincts kicking in. In the courtyard, guards were restraining a furious Tara as she screamed at them. "Let me go. Do you know who I am?" She had tried to poison Aisha's tea and was caught. Ming stepped forward, his voice like ice. "I told you to stay away from my wife. You have crossed the line for the last time." "You don't understand." Tara shrieked, her face wild. "She doesn't belong here." "I do. I was meant to be yours, Ming." This was supposed to be my life, my future. Aisha stood frozen, Tara's words cutting deep. You pathetic little witch, Tara spat, turning on her sister. You've always been nothing but a burden, a shadow. I gave you a way out, and now you dare steal what's mine. Guards tightened their grip as she struggled. You think this is over, she hissed. You haven't seen what I'm capable of. Ming's jaw clenched. Get her out of my sight. And send word to the authorities. If she steps foot near Aisha again, I will have her arrested. Tara's scream echoed through the courtyard as she was dragged away. Later that night, Aisha sat silently in their chambers, staring at the flickering candlelight. Her hands trembled as she clutched a small piece of parchment, the results from the physician Ming had quietly summoned. She was pregnant. Ming entered quietly, his eyes softening when he saw her tears. Aisha? What's wrong? She turned to him, her heart pounding. Ming. I didn't know how to tell you. But now. I can't hide it. She placed his hand gently over her stomach. We're going to have a baby. For a heartbeat, there was only silence. Then Ming's face broke into the most radiant smile she'd ever seen. Aisha, he breathed, pulling her into his arms. You've given me the greatest gift. This child, it changes everything. No one will ever come between us now. She clung to him, relief and joy flooding her chest. But even as he held her, a shadow of dread lingered in the corners of her mind. Because she knew Tara wasn't done. And a mother's love was a powerful thing, but so was a jealous sister's hatred. The Zhang estate was eerily quiet. Too quiet. Aisha sat in the nursery that Zhang Ming had begun preparing the moment he learned of her pregnancy. Tiny silk blankets embroidered with golden cranes lay folded in a carved wooden crib, and delicate lanterns swayed above like little stars. She ran her fingers over the soft fabric, her heart swelling with love and fear all at once. A faint sound made her freeze. A floorboard creaked. Ming, she called softly. No answer. The hair on the back of her neck rose. Something was wrong. She turned slowly, and came face to face with Tara. Her stepsister stood in the doorway, eyes wild, hair unkempt, and clutching a small dagger that glinted in the lantern light. Hello, sister, Tara hissed. Did you really think you could take everything from me and live happily ever after? Aisha's breath caught. Tara, please, you don't have to do this. Oh, but I do. Tara snarled, advancing. You stole my fiancé, my life, my future. Everyone sees you as some kind of blessing, but you're a curse. My curse. Aisha backed toward the crib instinctively, shielding her belly. This isn't just about me anymore, she said, her voice trembling but firm. I'm carrying a child, Tara. Your niece or nephew. Please, don't do something you can't take back. For a split second, hesitation flickered in Tara's eyes. But it was gone as quickly as it came, replaced by fury. No. That child is proof you've won. And I won't let you. The door burst open. Zhang Ming stormed in with 2 guards, his face a mask of rage. Step away from my wife, he commanded, his voice like thunder. Tara spun, dagger raised, but Ming was faster. He lunged forward, grabbing her wrist and twisting until the blade clattered to the ground. You dare threaten Aisha? He roared, shoving her toward the guards. Take her away. She'll answer to the law for this. No. Tara screamed as they restrained her. You can't do this to me. She's the liar, the thief. I'm the one who belongs here. Zhang Ming's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. You were given every chance to leave peacefully. But you chose hatred. This is the path you carved for yourself. As she was dragged from the room, Tara's screams echoed through the halls, then faded into silence. When the chaos finally subsided, Aisha collapsed into Ming's arms, sobbing. I was so scared, she whispered. I thought I'd lose you, lose our baby. You will never lose me, he vowed, cupping her face tenderly. His voice trembled with emotion. I swear on my life, Aisha, no one will ever hurt you again. You and our child are my world. Her tears turned to soft laughter, relief flooding through her. We survived her, Ming. For the first time, I feel free. He kissed her then, slow and reverent, sealing his promise with every touch. Weeks later, the Zhang estate was alive with celebration. Lanterns lined the walkways, musicians played joyful tunes, and Madame Zhang proudly announced to honored guests that her son and daughter-in-law were expecting the first heir of the next generation. Aisha stood at Ming's side, radiant in a flowing silk gown of pale gold. When she looked out at the crowd, she no longer felt like a pawn or an outsider. She felt like part of something greater, a family built on love, not manipulation. As the festivities wound down, Ming led her to the garden, the same place where they had first confessed their feelings. "Do you remember that night?" he asked, brushing his thumb over her knuckles. Aisha smiled. "I remember thinking you were too good to be true. And now? Now I know you're real. We're real." She placed his hand over her belly, which was just beginning to show. "And soon, our love will have a legacy." Ming's eyes glistened. "You've given me everything I ever dreamed of, Aisha. My mother was right. You are a blessing. Not just to me, but to this entire family." Her throat tightened with emotion. For so long, she'd felt like she didn't belong anywhere. But standing there, with Ming's arms around her and their future growing inside her, she finally understood what it meant to have a home. "For once," she whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks, "I actually belong." Ming kissed her, fireworks exploding in the distance as the festival began anew. This time, there were no shadows lurking, no schemes or betrayals. Just love, peace, and the promise of a future they would build together.